Hello students, my name is Mr. Hitesh Desai, Assistant Professor, Department of Geography, Ganapat Pasikar College of Education. The topic for my module is Introduction to Research Methodology in Geography. The subtopic is Techniques for Data Collection and Sampling. So as we begin with this module, which is Techniques of Data Collection and Sampling, now data collection we have seen how the data can be obtained via different methods. Now let us focus on the sampling techniques. Moving on, population or the universe in statistics denotes the aggregate from which the sample is taken. A sample collection consisting of the part of subset of object or individual of population which is selected for the purpose representing the population. It is a process of selecting a sample from population. For this population is divided into the number of part which is called units. Now why there is a need of sampling? Sampling is needed because the large population can be conveniently covered, time, money, energy is saved, helpful when unit of area are homogeneous, used when data is unlimited. Now what are the advantages of sampling? So it can be economical, it can be increase of speed and the accuracy. Now economical, it reduces the cost of compared to the entire population. Increased speed, which means the collection of data, analysis and interpretation of data, etc., which takes less time. And accuracy, due to limited area coverage, completeness and accuracy is possible. Now let us focus on the disadvantages. Biasness, the chances of biased selection leading to incorrect conclusion. Selection of a true representative sample, sometimes it is difficult to select the right representative sample, and the need for specialized knowledge wherein the researcher needs a knowledge, training and statistical analysis and the calculation of probable error. Now let us focus on the types of sampling. First one we have probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So what do you mean by probability sampling? Probability sampling means a probability sample is one in which each member of population has equal chance of being selected, whereas non-probability sample says a particular member of population being chosen and which is unknown. So in probability sampling there is a 10% chance of being selected as a sample, and non-probability sampling wherein the sampling is chosen from the unknown sources. This chart shows the probability sampling. Now here the types what do we have is a simple, systematic, stratified and a cluster. You can have a look at this graph or a chart. Next one is a non-probability method wherein we have the convenience, judgmental, snowball and quota sampling. You can have a look at this chart. Okay, now probability sampling. Now here all the members have the same chance of being selected a part of the population that you want to research. It is also sometimes called a random sampling. Now simple random sample, systematic random sample, stratified sample and the clustered sample. So by looking at the chart you must got a clear idea what makes it a different. Yeah, simple random sampling. A simple random sampling gathers a random selection from the entire population where each unit has an equal chance of selection. This is the most common way to select a random sampling. Stratified sampling. It collects the random selection of a sample from within certain strata or subgroups within the population. Each subgroup is separated from others on the basis of the common characteristics such as gender, race or religion. This way, you can ensure that all subgroups of the given population are adequately represented within your sample population. Systematic sampling. A systematic sampling draws a random sample from the target population by selecting the units at regular intervals starting from a random point. This method is useful in situations where the record of your target population already exists, such as record of agency clients, enrollment list of the university students, or the company's employment records. Any of this can be used as sampling frame. Clustered sampling. Clustered sampling is a process of dividing the target population into the groups called clusters. A randomly selected subsection of these groups then forms your sample. Clustered sampling is an efficient approach where you want to study the large geographical dispersed population. It is usually involves existing groups that are similar to each other in same way. For example, classes in a school. There are two types of clustered sampling: single or single and multi-stage clustered sampling. Non-probability sampling. This is the second most classification of non-probability sampling. Now, non-probability sampling is a sampling method that uses non-random criteria like availability, geographical proximity, or expert knowledge of the individual you want to research in order to answer research question. So here first type we have the convenience type sample, purposive sample, snowball sample, and the last one is a quota sample. So this picture clearly indicates how the functioning of these sample technique types is working. So first one we have the convenience sampling. Convenience sampling is primarily determined by convenience to the researchers. This can include factors like ease of access, geographical proximity, existing contact within the population of interest. Convincing sample are sometimes called accidental sample because the participants can be selected for the sample simply because they happen to be nearby when the researcher is conducting the data collection. Now wherein here it becomes very much easier for the research student or the researcher to get these type of sampling techniques based on the availability of the population. Next one is a quota sampling. In quota sampling, you select the predetermined number or proportions of unit, which is called as quota. Your quota should be comprised subgroup with the specific characteristics such as individual, cases or organization, and should be selected in non-random manner. Self-selection or voluntary sampling. Self-selection sampling is also called as volunteer sampling, relies on the participants who voluntarily agree to be the part of your research. This is common for samples that need people who meet specific criteria, as is often the case of medical or psychological researcher. Wherein here the sample himself or herself is voluntarily wants to participate in actively into the research as a part of the study, which is called as a self-selection or volunteer sampling. Snowball sampling. The snowball sampling is used when population you want to research is hard to reach or there is no existing database or other sampling frame to help you find them. Research about socially marginalized groups such as drug addicts, homeless people or the sex worker often use snowball sampling. To conduct a snowball sample, you must start by finding one person who is willing to participate in your research. You then ask them to introduce you to others. Alternatively, your research may involve finding people who use a certain product or have experience in your area you are interested in. In these cases, you can also use network of people to gain access to your population of interest, wherein it starts with the one single person and it goes up to the majority of population. This is what is known as snowball sampling. And the last, okay, moving to the next, we have the judgmental or the purposive sampling. The purposive sampling is a blanket term for the several sampling techniques that choose participants deliberately due to qualities they possess. It is also judgmental sampling. It is also called as judgmental sampling because it relies on the judgment of the researcher to select the units. For example, it can be people, cases, or organization studies. These are my references for this module. Thank you for listening.